Hi everyone, this is Dango from Rocky Valley server. In this video, I'm going to discuss about which hero you should summon in the future banner in order to do well in the Asian Call and APX Arena Season 2. So this is in order to do that, I have to create one account in a Chinese server so that I can learn more about these characters. And here I just create this account here. This is the Chinese iOS server. Let's say hi to them first. Oh, looks like there are lots of censored words here as well, right? And the discussions are all in Chinese. Very interesting. So let's just directly jump here and see what are those heroes in the future banner. So the next banner for global server we are going to be safflower, and in this banner we will have a few characters, which will be this Sakura here, and this Alice here, and this Sumeri here. Yeah, so all these characters. So let me jump to a very quick conclusion here. Oh, actually, this is pretty nice that because the background music that I'm here is actually from Sakura War. Yeah, so Zilong game actually have the copyright for the background music as well. This is very interesting because in the last collaboration or like crossover events, we don't have the original background music. It is very nice that they have this original background music this time. Yeah, but the conclusion is that the best character from Sakura War is actually this free character, which is SR character Alice, and she is basically a teleporting healer. So her role is very similar to Jessica, but she is just much better than Jessica because the teleport that she provides will actually gain extra like 20% more damage dealt, and then it will also reduce the damage taken of the teleported character by 20%, and then it allows the teleported characters to ignore terrain's effect, which means that if you teleport a cavalry unit, he will not be limited by mountains and by sea clouds. So this is by sea spot. This is very important, and this is why she is very strong. The two SSR units that you have to summon are Sakura and Sumeri, and both these units have really have no usage at all in Asian Call. I mean, you can still use them like when you have bonus for the Imperial faction, but they really just don't perform well. Because both units skill focus on AoE attack, and this Sumeri is kind of weird because she is a tank, but she has like a skill like move again, like strike. She can move again and then cast the AoE skill, and she can tank after she casts the AoE skill. So it is actually a tank that is kind of hard to use. Some people say that she performs better in Season 2, but yeah, she is still not top tier in Season 2. And Sakura's skill is very interesting. So she has like a one LAN AoE skill that can hit a single LAN, and the other AoE skill that can hit triple LAN. And that AoE skill, the area is very similar to the area of Lamnata. So this is a very good AoE range skill, and what this AoE provides is that it actually converts the healing effect to damage. So this is a skill that is similar to this skill's effect. So after your Sakura casts this skill, your enemy has to dispel first before healing. And then, like when your enemy tries to dispel this debuff, you can launch another AoE attack to follow up, which can be very deadly. This is why Sakura is still pretty good in Season 1, and she is still okay in Season 2, but in both cases she is not top tier. And this is just because this this AoE skill has a very long cooldown, and yeah, and basically any healers that can dispel can solve this problem. And if you carry two healers, she really can't do much because this AoE attack has like pretty low damage, I would say. Like although it can convert the future healings to damage, she can't really do high damage herself, and she does not have like anything like similar to like Leonhard. She cannot move again. So yeah, this is her great limitation. And she counters Judgler focused team well. So if your enemy, if you know your enemy in playoff, you know that he has a insane Judgler and he always first pick Judgler every time. Bring Sakura to counter this kind of people is a very good strategy. But other than that, I really don't recommend you to put huge investments for her as free-to-play player. I mean, definitely try to like pull them like just for collection because you never know, right? After like in this Chinese server that I play now, the level cap already increased to level 64, and it is going to be 66 after this week's major update. So after like all these characters reach level 70, they will learn a new skill. We don't know yet if like what kind of skill Sakura and Sumeri will get, but if they get a decent skill, especially if Sakura gets a decent 3C skill, that can be like game changing. Like she can immediately become useful again. So yeah, and just for collection basis, like they will not come back anytime soon. This is a limited time banner. So I still recommend you to get at least one copy for like this character. Like if you just pull one of them, that's fine. But definitely try to get one of those characters if you are free to play because they are not super OP right now, but they have a potential to be improved. And this is the Sakura War banner that we will have like next month. And after this Sakura War banner, we will going to have this character, which is Claret. So if you like check any news from the Chinese server, you already know this Claret is a very insane PvP focused character because the mobility that she can have at turn 2. So the strategy for this character is that you usually just stay at the just stay like unmoved for turn 1, and she will gain extra like 5 up to 5 mobility if she is 6-star on turn 2 basically. So she is a character like Leonhard, like you have to pull her at 6-star in order to use her, otherwise she is not that good. But at 6-star she is very strong because on turn 2, if you didn't move her on turn 1, on turn 2 she can have 10 mobility, or if you have breathe enchant, that's going to be 12 mobility. That is a huge range. Even this range compared to Zareta, this is even higher range, right? So this is a great counter to a no tank team, right? Just because she has a high mobility. If you don't have tank to protect any of the characters, she can just jump into the face of your healers and kill them. And after she kill your healer, she can, and her skill can allow her actually, if she actually fail to kill your healer, for example, if you are using a like super strong Liana and she attack your Liana and failed, and she can act again after she failed to kill your character. And then she can either follow up killing your Liana, or she can change her target to kill your the others like squashy units. So she's very strong basically, and very strong in PvP. In season 2 though, because in season 2 things change, you will always need a tank with you, and in season 2 she is not that strong in killing tanks anymore. So in season 2, especially early game of season 2, she is not that OP, but she's the character that you always want to have in your box just because the extremely high mobility she has. So this is a character that is very strong, but I don't recommend you, if you are free to play, I don't recommend you to summon in her banner when she come up first, because the other character in the banner, which will be, let's check, the other character is Astral. let's check which yeah, the other character is Astro. So she is a very interesting character, and I know lots of you guys like really love this character because she is similar to one of the character in like Lodi's War or something similar than that. Yeah, but she is like a very cool original character made in this game. Like she is specific to Langrisser Mobile. So yeah, if you like do love this character and yeah, you can like try to summon one, but she is very disappointing in both Asian Call and AP like Apex Arena. So my recommendation for like free-to-play player, like if you are not a big fan of her, just don't summon in that banner, because the character that is very important, which is Claret, she will have a focused banner soon after the like a month, maybe a month later after the after she firstly come up. So yeah, like you will have a chance to summon her like in a focused banner like very soon. So you don't really need to like take your chance, and maybe you may still call like even off banner characters in that banner. So yeah, this is a very strong character if you are well, and if you want to if your target, if your goal is the champion of season 1 of Apex Arena, you should summon her at 6 star. I can't do that because I don't have the resource, and I always have bad luck in like summoning like PvP focused character. Like when I tried to summon my Leon Heart was actually 3 star. So that was a big disadvantage. Like that was a big fail for me. So I decided to not summon any of these PvP characters if only one of the character is good. Yeah, so I'm going to skip that banner. But if your goal is the champion of season 1, you should summon for 6 star. And if you are free to play, you should definitely wait for the focused banner. And after this banner, the next banner that we are going to have is actually a banner that free-to-play player can put all your resources in and try to get as many copy as possible, which will be a banner with Omega and Yulia. So this Omega is very strong in early season 2 because he can bypass tank, and he can ignore the troops, like he can ignore the troops that your hero bring and directly hit the hero. And this works very similar to Zareda, except he is more like he is an even bigger threat, and like he has even bigger threat than Zareda because his troop will actually hit with him and ignore your troop. So basically, this skill allows him to ignore your troop, and he can still hit with his troop. So basically, this hero and his troop hit only your hero. So if that happens, we already know the result. Like there is no way any character can survive, even tanks. This is why you heard people say, oh, Omega can one-shot Landius, not one-shot Landius because Landius has 2 lives, but he can one-shot Jajular. Yeah, this is the reason why, because he can ignore basically the lobster that Jajular bring and hits Jajular directly, and if he's hitting with himself and his troops, so Jajular is like 100% dead without any possibility to survive basically. So this is a very crazy character, and in order to ignore the troop, his scale will need to be like 3 times higher than the enemy scale, which is likely to happen without the secondary enchantments that that we will get at the beginning of like Apex Arena 2. So yeah, and even like when secondary enchant arrives here, you will have like lots of units that you want to do the secondary enchant, and like before you like max the enchant for all of your characters, Omega will always find chance to kill like your units like has lower scales than like Omega. So this is why he's so broken at the early season, but at the later season after most of your like 15 characters in your box all have this secondary enchantment, and you will need to work on your character skill a little bit, then he can no longer ignore the troop and no longer ignore tanks. And at that time, Omega's usage will be greatly reduced. So Omega is still very strong in lower level battles, because people don't have the resource to finish up the secondary enchant. But in higher level, people already started to kick Omega out of their box. So this is basically a very essential character to have in like early stage of season 2, but then later you will probably going to replace him. But Yulia is a character that is just consistently very strong in season 2, and this is because she has a similar skill compared to Alvin. She can remove 5 buffs from the enemy and deal a very high damage like skill. Deal a very and she has a skill with very high damage and remove 5 buffs. And the other like broken thing she has is that she has one skill that she can she can unguard your enemy, like she can unguard her enemy, and she can also revive after after being hit like fatal death. Yeah, so this is why she is very broken, and like even Zareda cannot kill her because she can revive after being killed. So yeah, she is just a broken character, and just because in this banner both Omega and Yulia are super good, it is a very good chance for free-to-play players to put all your resources in and to summon, for these characters as high as possible. But one of the concerns you may have is that after this Yulia and Omega banner, we will actually have another, this limited time banner, which will be the other crossover banner. So next, let's talk about the Nesta banner, which is actually going to be one crossover banner, which is Yu-Yu Hexual banner. And in this event, we will have 1 free SR units as usual, and we will have 4 SSR units that you need to summon from 2 different banners. And so be careful, although we have 2 banners here, but these 2 banners are within a month, so these 2 banners are within one of the Echo of Light period, which means that you will not have too many time to collect a resource to summon. So you have to think about wisely, which units you are going to summon, and you have to, kind of save enough summons before it comes, because really these 2 banners are within 1 month, suggesting you will not be able to farm a lot of resource doing these banners. So, but let's start with these free SR units here. So he's basically a tank, and he can revive after being killed, so works very similarly to Vegas. But he's actually, I don't think he's as strong as Vegas, so I don't recommend anyone to put any resource on him unless you are like a beginner and he's like the first units you can get. The good thing is that if you start playing this game from this event, he can, you can farm him to 5-star easily. Having a 5-star tank, like 5-star SR tank, is not very, easy for a new beginner. Yeah, even like for Vegas, it is hard to get him as 5-star. So it is a, good idea if you just start this game and you can just, rest him up as your main tank. But other than that, I don't see any good reason that you should put any resource on him. So about the 4 SSR units. So in this crossover event, they introduce a very interesting mechanism, which is transformation mechanism. So all these units can transform to another, state. So after the transformation, they gain like some effect, like some buff, like extra damage or extra mobility, extra, scale range, which is very interesting. And after the end of the transformation period, which is usually 2 turns, they will get a debuff like stunned or something. Yeah, so this is like a very interesting new mechanism, and the first banner will introduce this Yosuke and Komara. So these two characters, right now they are both not rated very high. Komara is a mage that deals a lot of fixed damage, that has no usage in boss battle and kind of not well performed in PvP as well. Yusuke is a very interesting character. I strongly suggest you to summon at least Yusuke because he is the other SSR faction buff besides Joshua, and his faction buff will buff single target scale by 15%. I mean the damage dealt increased by 15%, and this is extremely very good in season 2 because season 2, instead of focusing on AoE attack, season 2 fundamentally, this fundamentally changed to a single target like meta. So this faction buff actually I would say works pretty well, especially if you couple with the Heihei, which is the other character that we are going to discuss later. Yeah, this can be a very interesting combination. And then the other thing is that this Yusuke is in this supernatural or the new faction that we just have introduced by Gizlov. So, and one of the ability he has is that he gain extra 20% damage dealt after a friendly unit died near him, like 2 spots near this character. And it actually works with summoned units. So although in season 2 we know that summoning strategy is not that useful because you cannot have an extra turn with the summoned units anymore. The summoned units needs to move with the unit who summoned them immediately. So yeah, so the summon strategy will no longer be that useful in season 2, but the summon units actually works well with him because you can if you use Gizlov, you just summon units and then these summon units kill themselves around Yusuke, and then Yusuke can gain extra buff, and then after he has this extra buff, he may actually have the ability to kill tanks, and he becomes super strong and couples well with Gizlov's faction. Gizlov's faction has the other tank pillar, which is Yulia. So if you can have this Yusuke, Yulia, and Gizlov in your Apex team, it can be a nightmare for your enemy. So I see a very high potential, but he is not rated very high till now. We will see how he performs in playoff. The playoff of season 2 is near the corner. It's next week. So we will see how he performs. But right now, these two characters are both rated not very high in Apex Arena, and they have limited usage in the Ancient Call as well. So the other banner will introduce this Heihei here, and then the other character is what they call Toguro brother. Yeah, this Toguro brother acts very similarly to Leon, but yeah, he's not rated very high. He's kind of a disappointing character, but Heihei is is a very highly rated character, and most of the top players in China, they have included Heihei in their box in Apex Arena. He's still not that good in Asian Call or PvE content, but he is very strong. So because after transformation, he has a tank ignore skill, and after transformation he can act again after attack. So this is very strong. So basically, he can launch one attack and then act again and launch another attack. So this can be deadly, and his transformation lasts 3 turns, so which is pretty good. Yeah, so this is basically very strong. After he transforms, he can attack and then attack again, and he has one skill that can ignore the guard. Yeah, because he is assassin class. Yeah, so this is a very strong and interesting units for PvP. So if you want to, like do Apex Arena in Season 2, he's one of the characters that you want to focus on, like pulling. So this is the other crossover event that we will have, and then we will talk about the final banner, which will introduce this character, reinforce into and reinforce right now is not rated super strong. I didn't invest these characters a lot, but he has some fancy skill that allow him to act again after a certain turn. He's pretty interesting, but right now he's not rated very high, and he's actually one of the characters that the players who summon him feels like super, like they are really like sad about summoning this character, and they ask Zillion to, to improve this character. So maybe he will, like his skill will be changed in the future, because this Chinese player, they really cry a lot about this character. So hopefully, Zillion can fix the problem of this character. But right now, there is no point to put any resource in this character. It's just very disappointing. And the other character is Eddie, and the reason, like the design, the purpose of her is to counter AoE attack. But I think the mechanism that grants she can be very like she is basically a character with full potential, but she is not good in Season 2 because the reason that we discussed before, right? Season 2 focus on tank kill and single target skill, right? She is a strong counter to AoE team, but we don't really do lots of AoE in Season 2, right? And if we she has she don't have the best tanky unit in this game, which is the Phoenix. Yeah, so she's kind of easy to kill by single target skill. So this is why she's not very OP in Season 2, but she has a potential. I mean, if she can get like good 3C skill, or if the meta shift again from single target skill in Season 2 to like AoE or like other fancy stuff in Season 3, then she can still be a good tank. But at least for now, I didn't see a good reason to invest resource on her. So if you summon, so basically for this banner for free-to-play players, I don't recommend you to summon, because both these characters, they will show up in a future like focused banner. So I don't really recommend you to just summon when they come out. And yeah, this week CN will release another 2 new characters, which is the Shoujo Jessica. It's actually a very interesting character. The other character is Amelia, which is Vigor's doctor. So these 2 characters are both kind of interesting, but they are not relevant for Season 2 Apex Arena for global. So I'm not going to review these 2 characters. So to summarize, I still suggest you to summon 1 copy of this Sakura and Summary from this Sakura War banner, because they are like time limited banner. Sakura is strong against the Jadula team, but both these 2 units are not that top tier in terms of PvP, and they have limited usage in PvE as well, especially in Ancient Call. They don't have really usage in Ancient Call. And the characters Claret, very relevant for Season 2 of the Apex Arena, and very relevant if you enter like the top 8 stage of the Apex Arena in Season 1. So yeah, so if you are free to play, summon her in the focused banner. If you are well, and if your goal is to win like Season 1, you should summon her at 6-star. And Astra, don't put any resource on her, unless you are a big fan of her. I mean, if you really like her, just build her. I mean, just build the character you like. But if you just want to have a better chance in Apex Arena, or if you want to have a higher rank in Asian Call, she is not a good choice. and Yulia definitely built her and maxed her and pull her as many copy as possible. Omega also very strong, and then the second crossover event in the future, right? These SR characters don't build him. The other characters try to pull the Yusaki from the first banner and Heihei from the second banner. They are like very useful, and this is a time limited banner, so the good idea is to at least pull them at least for one copy, and then maybe if you are free to play, you just slowly build him. If you are well, just pull this guy at 6-star, right? He's going to be very strong in season 2. And the other like future characters, this reinforce not very strong. I don't recommend to summon for him, and I don't recommend you to put any resource for him right now. And Beatty, I mean, if you are well, you can summon like 1 or 2 copies for her. But if you are free to play, just skip this banner. Yeah, that's all that I want to discuss. Thanks for watching, and if you want to, see more of the Langrisser Mobile content, especially the Apex Arena relevant content, just subscribe my channel, and I will make more of these kind of videos. Thanks for watching. So I need to add a patch note about the factions of all these new characters, because I know especially for some of the free-to-play players, they can only focus on like 1 or 2 factions. So the factions will be also relevant like when they decided to summon 1 characters or not. So for Sakura War, all these characters are in the Tam faction, which is the crossover faction, and they are also all in the Empire faction. So Boran and Leon will be able to call faction buff for all these characters. And Sakura will be also in the protagonist faction, and these Alice and Sumeria will also be in the princess faction. So basically, this is the faction for the first crossover in the future, and the other characters. Let's check SSR here, and this reinforce is in the yeah, let's talk about Claret first. Claret is in the princess faction, Meteor faction, and princess Meteor, and yeah, legend faction. Yeah, Claret is in legend, Meteor, and princess faction. So Landius and Sigma will be able to call faction buff for her. Zareda will be able to call faction buff for her, and Shelfonio and Luna will be able to call faction buff for her. Omega is in dark faction and Meteor faction. This Astro will be in Origin of Light faction, and she will also be Origin of Light faction, and she will also be in Glory faction and Strategy faction, basically, yes. And then Yulia will be in Princess faction, Supernatural faction, which is the faction led by Gizlov, and she will also be in the Glory faction. And now let's talk about the faction of the second crossover event. This free SR will be in Glory faction, will be in Meteor faction, and of course all these characters will have Time faction as well as the crossover faction. And Heihei is in Origin of Light faction, Meteor faction, and this Yusaki will be in the Supernatural faction, which is Gizlov's faction, and he will also be in the protagonist faction. Kurama will be in Strategy faction, Legend faction, and these Tangrel brothers will be in Empire faction and the Dark faction. So the last 2 characters Reinforce is in Strategy faction, Legend faction, and Supernatural faction. And Baby will be in glory faction, impale faction, and the dark faction.